It's November 7th, 2022, and tomorrow will be the midterm election. I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould. Welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Sam Buban. We begin with the top stories that are dominating the headlines. The United States Supreme Court has rejected the appeal of North Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, asking the High Court to block the subpoena to testify before a special grand jury in Georgia. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis wanted to question Senator Graham about his telephone call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger in an effort of Donald Trump's allies to overturn the President Biden's win in 2020 election. The court, however, granted Senator Graham not to be asked a question relating to his conversation with other officials if it has something to do with his senatorial legislative functions.
Former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who filed a lawsuit to block the subpoena of the special grand jury in Georgia, has also lost the case. Circuit Court Judge Edward W. Miller in South Carolina, where Meadows is a resident, ordered Trump's former chief of staff to appear for questioning at the Georgia special grand jury, investigating the criminal activities relating to overturning President Joe Biden's win in 2020.
3 weeks ago, I ran a segment on COP27 Climate Summit of the United Nations. But this week, the world's famous teenager climate activist Greta Thunberg will not be attending this year's Climate and Global Warming Summit in Egypt this year, dubbed as COP27 Summit. Greta Thunberg's reason for not attending has something to do with her displeasure about the human rights conditions in Egypt and the fact that the summit is held in a high-end tourist city in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh. The COP27 will be held November 6 to November 18th. President Biden is expected to attend. Many world leaders also indicated they will attend this important UN summit on climate change. Greta Thunberg added that all she could get at this summit are the big powers saying something but not doing it for real.
The San Francisco Police Department has released a preliminary findings of its investigation of the violent attack upon the husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, 82-year-old Paul Pelosi, in their home. The assault happened around 2:30 a.m. on October 28th. The suspect, David DePop, injured Paul Pelosi with a hammer, causing skull fracture on the victim. The assailant was arrested on the scene by the police. Mr. Pelosi was able to call 911 after the break-in, and the suspect was standing by the bedside to Mr. Pelosi by saying he needed to go to the bathroom and called 911 from the bathroom. The nation is furious about the jokes and rhetoric of many Republican lawmakers who were making tasteless jokes of Nancy Pelosi and her husband after the attack. It's sad what the Republican Party officials had become in the past 6 years. We know that there are many good Republicans, but they have become silent. As of recent update, the FBI, through the U.S. Attorney's Office in San Francisco, had filed federal charges against David DePop under a federal statute on assault against a sitting member of Congress and their family.
Is Russia running out of ammunition and personnel in the war with Ukraine? The answer points out to a yes. The Wall Street Journal reported that North Korea is sending weapons to Russia. Other sources had seen the presence of Iranian drones. White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby was quoted as saying that, as they have mentioned before, that Russia has asked North Korea to supply them with artillery shells and other munitions, the administration now has information that the shipment had begun. But Kirby does not believe that this will deter the Ukrainians from defending their territory from further Russian aggression. Russia's national mobilization to augment its troop size has been failing, as many young Russian men are protesting and evading against the draft. Some analysts are saying that not only for the war in Ukraine, but the size of Russia's armed forces had actually been depleted, that they may not actually have enough troops for home defense. We have more for you after a commercial break. Please stay with us.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse. Again, we are on the eve of midterm election, and the candidates are as anxious and as nervous as the pollsters nationwide. Will the polls prove them wrong again, or will the election result prove them right this time? Many articles are revealing how pollsters are holding breath of what the real outcome will be. Many of whom are saying we were proven wrong in 2016 and proven wrong again in 2020. The possibilities are even more endless with different factors and many variables. But then again, at the very least, the pollings give us a glimpse of trend or possibilities, considering that polls are actually a little samples of the population of likely voters, ranging from 400 live samples to around 1,400 at most. The big question is, will the Democrats lose the House of Representatives and keep the U.S. Senate, or will it be both? So what are we seeing in the past few days, Uncle Sam? And if you could add some of your own guess of what the outcome might be.
It always is a terrifying prospect for the polling companies and the polling operatives of being wrong in the end. Likewise, hosts on TV shows do not want to be remembered being wrong. However, I want to be the optimist here. And Michael Moore, the renowned documentarian, publicly came out last week into the media outlets explaining why he believes the Democrats will come out winners in this election. My wager on this midterm election is that Democrats will come out retaining their majority in the U.S. Senate. Let's look at the picture where things are likely to be in their favor. What we have now is we are at 50-50. Democrats had 48 plus 2 independents who caucuses with the Democrats, makes it 100 now. There are 4 Republicans that are retiring and didn't want to run again. So that leaves the Republicans also defending that seat. In this election, the Democrats are only defending 14 seats 14 re-election or 14 seats that they control now, while the Republicans are they have 21. Of course, most of the seats they are defending right now of the Republicans are actually in red states. So the real battleground is only 5 Senate seats. They are in Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, and Missouri, and even Florida. These are states that could possibly flip to the Democrats, while the Democrats are defending only 14 seats, where the most vulnerable on the list, on their list of vulnerables, is Raphael Warnock of Georgia, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, and Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada. But Maggie Hassan is now considered safe. So that leaves Warnock and Cortez Masto that may be in peril of retaining their seats. But the Republicans are also poised to lose a chance to retain a seat in Pennsylvania. That was presently being held by a Republican. But Democrat Joe Fetterman can pick up that seat, and Tim Ryan, a Democrat, can likely win against J.D. Vance in Ohio. The overall equation, if the Republicans lose 2 and the Democrats lose 2, will be a net pickup of 0 for the Republicans, and the Democrats retain control of the Senate.
Interesting scenario. I'm now just learning to understand how the Democrats retain or lose the Senate. How about the House of Representatives? What scenarios do you see? Considering many factors and observations I saw in the social media, there is a Trump fatigue, even with many former Trumpers. And thousands of never-Trumpers Republicans are endorsing and voting for Democrats. Those who see in many states that the Republican Party is hopelessly broken right now. Another thing is that younger women nationwide are fighting back against the men, legislators, who want to dictate of what they can and cannot do. As if the Supreme Court decision in Dobbs versus Jackson that overturned Roe versus Wade is the poison pill, as an expression to what would have been a big win for the Republicans in this midterm election. The Republicans had to defeat 6 Democrats and keep all their existing seats of 212 in order to take majority in the House of Representatives. My best guess for the House is that the Democrats will retain 218 seats and the Republicans will get 5 more and reach 217 seats, resulting in a 1-seat majority for the Democrats, the slimmest majority in the House ever to be recorded in history. That's my best guess. 118th Congress in January 3rd, 2023, a Democratic majority in both chambers. We are going to take a commercial break. Please stick around. We'll be right back.
Pure Medical Equipment provides top-notch quality medical supply equipment. Whether to rent or buy, Pure Medical Equipment and Supplies has it all.
Pure Medical Equipment is committed to serve and give back to Southern Nevada.
We deliver medical supplies and rentals to your door.
Welcome back to The Pulse.
The Senate race in Georgia between incumbent Raphael Warnock is getting a lot of attention in this last week before election. The Reverend Raphael Warnock has been getting a lot of help from big names on the Democratic side to stump for senator. Here's President Barack Obama in Georgia.
But we have seen throughout history, we see now around the world what happens if we give up on democracy. We can see it in other countries where the government tells you what books you can read and cannot read. Countries that put dissidents and reporters in prison. Countries where it doesn't matter who you vote for. The people in power will do whatever they want. Where corruption is rampant because there's no accountability. When true democracy goes away, people get hurt. It has real consequences. And that's why generations of Americans have fought, and some have died, for the idea of self-government and set up rules to make it work. That's why folks right here in Georgia and all across this country fought, and some died, to make sure that everybody had the right to participate in this government. That's why we teach our kids, even when they're little, certain rules about what's fair and what's honest. Rules about how we should make decisions together as a group. Everybody gets a say, everybody gets a turn. If you don't get your way, don't throw a tantrum about it. Don't take your ball and go home. Get over it. Try to do better the next time. And that's what I mean when I say democracy's at stake in this election. That's why it's not enough to elect Democrats at the top of the ticket. We need to elect good people up and down the ballot. Across the country, some of the folks who tried to undermine our democracy are running for offices that will oversee the next election. And if they win, there's no telling what might happen. And that's why we need to work just as hard to elect secretaries of state like B. Wynn. We gotta fight for them just like we fight to elect governors and senators who care about you. Because if things get close, they can make all the difference. And guess what? Now you get to make a difference too. You know, we joke in my house, Michelle, she'll admit this, she can be a little glass half empty sometimes. I am the hope and change guy. So I'm usually a little more optimistic. But sometimes Michelle gets down about the state of the country and the state of the world. And I'll tell her everything will be okay. And I believe it will. But I also know that things will not be okay on their own. We have to fight for this. Democracy is not self-executing. It depends on us working, nurturing, caring for it. Not just on election day, but every day in between. It depends on us as citizens saying, this matters. This election matters, Georgia. These are tough times. The good news, though, is we've been through tough times before. The important thing is to resist the temptation to give up, to turn inward, to see politics as a mean zero-sum game where anything goes and rules are made to be broken. And the only way for people like us to win is if people like them lose. I don't believe in those politics. Because even in our darkest moments, and there have been darker moments in this country before, we have always had more in common than our politics suggest. Even when times are tough, what unites us has always been stronger than what divides us. There have always been certain values that bind us together as citizens, no matter who we are, where we come from, what we look like, or who we love. That's the promise of America. That's who we are. And in this election, you have a chance to vote for leaders like B. Wynn and Stacey Abrams and Sanford Bishop and Raphael Warnock, who will fight for that big, inclusive, hopeful, forward-looking America that we believe in, an America that doesn't fear the future, that meets its challenges honestly and boldly.
This is the real hitter against Herschel Walker, who is running against Raphael Warnock in Georgia. The megachurch pastor, Reverend Pastor Jamal, it doesn't get any better than this. Just my opinion, he just crushes Herschel Walker, and there is no rebuttal to this that one could come up with for the football star.
Ladies and gentlemen, when the Republican Party of Georgia moved Herschel Walker from Texas to Georgia so that he could run for Senate, it's because change was taking too fast in the post-antebellum South. The state had been flipped blue, and there are some principalities that were not prepared for a black man and a Jewish man to go to Senate at the exact same time. So they figured that they would delude us by picking somebody who they thought would in fact represent us better with a football than with a degree in philosophy. They thought we were so slow, that we were so stupid, that we would elect the lowest caricature of a stereotypical broken black man as opposed to somebody who is educated and erudite and focused. Y'all ain't ready for me today. Since Herschel Walker was 16 years old, white men been telling him what to do, telling him what school to go to, where to live, where to eat, where to buy a house, where to run, where to sit down, where to sleep, where to pay for abortions, where to buy a gun. And you think they not gonna tell him how to vote? In 2022, we don't need a walker, we need a runner. We need somebody who gonna run and tell the truth about January 6th. We need somebody who gonna run and push for the cancellation of student loan debts. We need somebody who gonna run and make the former president respond to a subpoena. We don't need a walker, we need somebody who will be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding, knowing that your labor is not in vain. Georgia, I need you to know the slave Negroes y'all are used to don't live here no more. We can think for ourselves, function for ourselves, and vote for ourselves. Why? Because we don't need a walker.
Former President Obama also came to pitch for Senator Cortez Masto. Here's a video taken by T.Y. Clements, our independent contributor here at The Pulse.
Democracy is at stake in this election event. And that's why it's not enough to elect Democrats like Steve Sisolak and Catherine Cortez Masto. We also have to elect good people up and down the ballot. Like Cisco Aguilar, who's running to be your Secretary of State. Nevada makes it easier to vote than many other states. You got early voting, you got universal mail-in voting, same-day voter registration. They don't just help Democrats, they make it easier for everybody to cast their ballot, no matter who you're voting for. Cisco's opponent wants to make it harder to go. He's trying to one-up all the Republicans peddling lies about the 2020 election by saying that all elections in Nevada for the last 15 years have been fake. Really? The last 15 years, all of them. He's going around rural Nevada spreading lies about how you can't trust electronic voting machines. But apparently you can't trust an election denier to oversee volunteers hand-counting ballots. That's not somebody you want in charge of your elections. It'd be like if the Raiders were playing the Chiefs. And you notice that instead of the refs who've been calling games for 20 years, somebody said, hey, how about that guy over there wearing the Chiefs gear, who's been tailgating for the last 3 hours, drinking some brews, and ranting about how the Chiefs actually beat the Bucks in the Super Bowl last year. They're looking partial. Let's put them in charge. If you wouldn't do that for a football game, why would you do it for an election? Instead, what you need to do is vote for somebody like Cisco, who believes that every vote should count. Full stop. Shouldn't be a radical idea. It didn't used to be a radical idea. That's why you gotta send Cisco into the Secretary of State office to protect the integrity of our elections. Make sure your votes count. Right now, you get a chance to make a difference.
Oh, yeah.
So long as you vote.
Yes.
And we joke in my house, between me and Michelle can sometimes be the glass half empty.
We are at the end of our show. I want to remind eligible voters to go out and vote tomorrow, Election Day.
And if you are eligible to vote and had not yet registered, this is Nevada. You can still register on the spot at voting places. And then vote. Vote for the ones who really care about our democracy, our Constitution, and the ordinary folks like many of us out there.
Until next time, I'm Sam Buban.
And I'm Esmeralda Padilla-Gould. See you next time, and God bless your week.
The views and opinions expressed in the media or comments on this program are those of the speakers or authors and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by FilAmTV Network. Due to the social nature of FilAmTV Network, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. FilAmTV Network claims no copyright to said content.